Hi there, it's Jen from modernmedicinelady.com and the Empathic Woman System, and the word of the day is denial. And I choose this word because I've been thinking a lot about the way that when something needs to heal, there is a period of time that happens before the healing happens when there is I'm trying to think of a word other than the swear that's coming to my mind. Okay, we'll just say a lot of resistance. And before we surrender, before we accept what is true, generally there's resistance to it. There's resistance to change. There's holding on to the old ways. There's wanting it to be just a certain way. And what's really interesting right now is I was just watching some television, and I was watching some news commentary because actually I wanted to see something else and I had to watch a certain part of it in order to get there. So I was kind of half listening to it. But one of the things I was struck by is how much denial there is going on in certain media, in certain news streams, in certain places right now that are basically creating what are literally being called alternative facts. And how there is this way that there is this denial of what is true. There is this denial of what is actually happening. There is this denial that there is resistance. There's this denial that there are people who are saying this is not working. And from one perspective, I can get myself caught in this tension between and in the polarization of all of it, where it's like I'm on one side saying this is my truth, and then there are these people on the other side saying this is their truth, and it's just this tug of war between the two sides. But when I step out of it and I think about what the healing process often is, I can recognize that denial is a defense mechanism that often comes up before things crumble. And that denial comes up, and especially vehement denial, just like denial in the face of truth, that happens when we are trying desperately to hold on to something that is no longer working. And it is usually the precursor to hitting bottom. And I was talking the other day about exertion and this idea of letting go of the attempt to control, because what's happening is we've got to allow the core to right itself, that we must find a way to come into balance, not by trying to put pressure and force on it, but really by allowing the center to find its way again. And in a lot of ways, what I feel like this message is for me right now is about pulling away from trying to force denial to be something other than what it is, and just having profound compassion for it. Because I know from my own personal experience that when I have been in denial, when I have been basically trying to pretend that something is different than what it is, that usually that was the step before I finally had to accept that life was what it was and accept life and the world on its own terms. So on one hand, we could make this personal and say, where in your life right now and where in my life right now may I be trying to deny the truth? May I be trying to fabricate a reality in order to not allow things to change? That's probably worth looking at. But at this point, I also just think it's more about sharing this piece of information with you, this perspective, and offering it up and saying, in cases where there is this denial, in cases where there is this resistance, whether it's within myself, within yourself, or in the greater picture, what would it be like to practice compassion for it? What would it be like to be merciful toward it and just acknowledge that this is that place of incredible, profound discomfort and resistance to change that often comes before the surrender? And so instead of trying to almost like put pressure or force against it, in that very Taoist way, that martial arts way. It's like, what if we step out of the way? What if we stop being the force that is against the denial? And what if we just go, yep, you want to believe that? You go for it. And just basically don't try to counter it, don't try to balance it, don't try to put any pressure against it. But in that very, very sort of Zen martial arts way, that we just step aside and let the momentum of the denial take itself down right now. So I'd love to hear what you have to say about all of this, because I really am curious to hear what matters to you, what you're thinking about, and if you're in denial about anything or not, and how you are just managing these amazingly wild days these days. And until next word of the day, I am wishing you peace and ease and merciful compassion for all the resistance we all have at times to change. And until next time, please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jennifer Moore, Modern Medicine Lady, and pass this along to other highly sensitive empathic people and people who are just on the path trying to sort all this shit out. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Peace.